All right. Looks like we are live. Good evening, Planet Earth. Good evening, track fans. Good evening, coaches. My name is Coach Lamont Vaughn. I'm the head coach of Grambling State University track and field and cross country. This is episode two of Koach2Coach. This episode is about the ladies. This is a conversation about what we do as coaches, what our profession is from the perspective of coaches. And I only bring you heavy hitters. You know, we've got some outstanding coaches on this episode today. And without further ado, I'm going to turn the floor over to you ladies so you can each introduce yourselves before we get started into the conversation. Go for it, ladies.
Hi, I'm Coach Leticia Robinson, head coach at Frisco Heritage High School in Frisco, Texas. Former heptathlete from Louisiana Tech.
My name is Carol Smith Gilbert. I'm the director of track and field and cross country at the University of Georgia.
Hi, my name is Dana Boone. I'm the head track and field cross country coach at UCF, University of Central Florida.
And hi, I am Elisha Brewer, Coach Brewer. I coach at the University of Pitt. And yeah, just happy to be on here and good to see everyone.
Outstanding, ladies. So to get kind of into it, just to kind of warm us up, you know, all of us have a start somewhere, and a start of a journey. Okay, because this profession is definitely a journey. This is a journey in our lives. This is a journey of what we do. This is a journey for not only ourselves but our families. So I want to ask each of you, how did you get into coaching? Anybody can start.
Well, I'll start. I always say you don't find coaching, coaching finds you. You look up and you're good at something and you just keep it going. But my high school coach, Tony Wells, my club coach in Denver, Colorado, told me to go up to my high school and be head coach. And I did that reluctantly. And we ended up winning quite a few state titles and things like that. And I started to see that maybe this is what I was good at, because I was a bit lost and confused after college. And it kind of narrowed me out and made me straight because I felt better helping people than I did just thinking about myself. So and then it went from there. I got hired at Penn State and it went from there.
I can kind of, I was smiling when she was telling her story. It's the same thing, graduated from college, didn't quite know what I wanted to do. I went to train with a group down in Middle Tennessee State trying to make an Olympic team. And that dream fell short. But my mentor, Dean Hayes, told me I'd be a good coach. And I looked at him and said, "You must be crazy. There's no way I'm coaching anybody. I can't deal with all these attitudes. No way." And he said, "I think you'd be good at it." And I kind of got forced into it. And here I am 35 years later. So sometimes, like she said, it calls you even when you don't think it's for you.
I can go next. Kind of the same story. I think we probably all have a similar story. Graduate program, I actually thought I wanted to be a family and marriage counselor. That was my thought in grad school. It wasn't coaching. Applied to a few coaching jobs out of college, just trying to figure out, okay, is this something that I could do? I think it's something I could, but let's see. Got a lot of counseling job offers, and only one school called me back, and that was the University of Cincinnati. And 24 years later, I'm still coaching. So that is my story.
Well, I guess I'm the fourth person that just didn't want to coach. So in college, I was just not quite sure what I wanted to do. I definitely knew I wanted to do something sports related. I graduated in sports marketing, thought I wanted to be an agent. Out of college, I was broke. So with going through that process of trying to go into grad school, and I was like, okay, God, what do you want me to do? I applied for so many jobs, and he kept saying, you're going to go coach and you're going to go teach at a high school. And I was like, no, God. And then literally I was like, you know what, God, I'm tired of running from it, because that was the only job that offered me something to live on. So Out of that, I have been coaching for now my 10th year. I started off at Trinity Christian in Cedar Hill when Dion was there, a little bit before he was there. And then I bounced around a little bit, but now I'm finally a head coach over a program in Frisco.
Very good. I'll share my story. I actually grew up around coaches. My father was my high school coach. I'm from Chattanooga, Tennessee. My dad coached me at Chattanooga Brainerd High School. Um, I grew up around the profession. To be totally honest, I didn't think that I was going to coach either. After I finished my studies at the University of Kentucky, after I finished my eligibility, I joined what was called the AmeriCorps program, the Athletes in Service that Bill Clinton started, and it put you in local high schools or elementary schools or middle schools in the Lexington area. And to be totally honest, I just knew I didn't have the patience for elementary school or middle school um, students to make sure I have a good word for that. My patience level was probably going to be with the high schoolers, and so I was just going in there, just going to the resource center and mentoring the students as needed. And then I came in one day with the University of Kentucky track and field sweatshirt on, and then the kids are just, "Oh, you ran track there? Why don't you come coach us?" And I don't think I want to do that, and kind of fought my calling for a little bit. Finished my studies in kinesiology and health promotions. Had a business minor. Thought I was going to be an agent. Thought I was going to work for Nike, and then just I remember just sitting in the office one day, and the kids came in, and they were coming in groups of three, four, five, six of them. And my wife looks at me because she was working in a resource center. We were engaged at the time, and she just looked at me and said, "Well, what else do you have better to do between 2 and 6 every day?" And I said, "You know what? You're right." And I was working with a couple of football players, getting from Kentucky, do a little pre-draft workout, 40-yard dash training or whatever, and just got out there at Bryan Station High School in Lexington, Kentucky, and boom. And thankfully, John Kenniston, the former throws coach who just retired from TCU a couple of years ago. Um, he saw my work and contacted a coach down in Florida, and I coached 2 years at Titusville High School in Titusville, Florida, and then it just snowballed from there. So it's been a great journey. I'm now in year 28 now. So just enjoying every step of it. I've gotten to meet so many great people like you all, and been watching you guys and trying to follow you and catch up to you. And God bless y'all, keep making it faster. So y'all ain't making it easy for the brother. So we gonna just keep on keeping on. So but I noticed, Coach Gilbert and Coach Boone, you guys mentioned, your mentors. And this kind of leads into my next question. Who've been your greatest influences in your career? How's that mentorship impacted you and your career on and off the track?
Mhm. I think people underestimate the value of a mentor. I think a mentor is very important. I think it has to be a mentor that has actually been successful, or knows where you want to go, that and they help you in different ways. And I think there's more than one mentor that you should have. It's not just one particular person. For me, as I said before, Tony Wells was probably my biggest influence on the X's and O's. Bev Kearney from Texas was a mentor for me as far as which steps I take in my career to go from which job to which job. So you gotta have a business mentor, and I think you gotta have an X's and O's mentor. That's just me.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I credit Dean Hayes, who passed away a couple years ago, as starting me in this profession, because I promise you I never would have done it if he hadn't kind of forced me into it. But I think every person that I worked for has been some sort of a mentor. I've learned something from every place that I've been, whether it be what to do, what not to do. Um, but I consider each person that I work for, because I always leave on good terms, someone that I learned something from, and I feel like I can pick up the phone and call anybody that I used to work for and get advice, as well as the sisterhood of coaches as you go along the way. I mean, EB, we go way back. Carol, we go way back. We known each other since high school. So
Junior team, the
junior, yeah,
USA junior team.
yeah. So we go way back. But I remember you coaching jumps at Penn State way back when. I can't remember where I was at that time. I might have been no telling. But I think along the way you just meet a lot of people and you
Yeah,
end up forming your circle of friends and mentors, male, female, and you seek advice for counsel through different people according to what situation you're going through.
I
Everyone
think
has
Dana,
different experiences.
I think you're right, Dana. I think people don't recognize the value of former head coaches when you're an assistant. Because number one, you might not really like what they have going on or how they want you to do things, but it's their program. But when you go out and you become a head coach, you begin to understand why they were doing things the way they were doing it. And you're right, you learn a lot of what you should know and a lot of what you don't want to do. And that way you can develop your own philosophy on how you want to run your program or what's important to you. So I think that's very important.
I'll go next. I think you guys obviously hit on a lot of them. I think it kind of depends on, what you need that mentor for. Is it to talk about, like, Carol and DB both said, like the next opportunity? Is it a reference? Is it someone who you can just talk about, how you would deal with a particular situation? Is it someone who you can talk, obviously, the X's and O's of the sport? I think there's a lot of different roles for different people, and as DB and Carol have said, I mean, I've called on both of them for different reasons, right? And I think that's what is really awesome about, I think, being um, a coach, being a woman, being a Black woman in this field is it's not a whole lot of us, and so I think I'm not saying all your mentors have to look like you. I think I definitely have some great mentors and friendships and people that I can reach out to if I need them. I could probably say the person who poured into me first as just an athlete would probably be Coach Green. Obviously, he was my coach in college, and he poured in me in a way that really, I think, gave me the confidence, I think, to not only be the best athlete I could possibly be, but then also have the confidence of, I'm going into this coaching field with no coaching experience, but what do you bring to the table? And so again, I think people can have different roles for you at different points in your career. And I think that's definitely important to know that those people that you do call your mentors are people who you can trust, people that are going to give you um, good advice, not necessarily advice you want to hear or tell you that you're right all the time. A person that has your best interest at heart and who's gonna, definitely tell you the honest truth. When that is obviously needed. So, yeah, I think the mentorship is super important. Everyone should have one, two. I guess it's up to you as to how many you have, but I just think have people that you can call on, regardless of what's going on in your life.
I think it's interesting that that y'all are saying this, that y'all are saying that. I feel like I call coach I call Coach Vaughn all the time, just about random things, especially if it's like dealing with particular instances, because he was one of those first people. He watched me just help some local high school kids when I was in college. They came over to the track and just said, "Hey, can you help us? We got to go to state next week." I'm like, "Okay, cool, whatever." But for me, I have yet to have a Black woman mentor. Like, I know that I've reached out to certain people, and it's been discouraging a little bit from a high school coach. I mean, even when I was an assistant, I mean, especially in a very male dominated field in the high school arena, I've been one of the only women on staff for years. So, just even at this level, I would love mentorship. I mean, I even applied at a certain program. I believe it was USATF CCA. So, my biggest people for me, at high school age was my high school coach. I mean, he made me believe that I could really do anything. And he supported me in everything. Even when I wasn't able to get the support I needed in other places. And the person who made me understand mostly the X's and O's and made me really be a student of the game was Coach Jay Cohen. He was very much an in your face kind of guy. However it comes out of his mouth, that's however it comes out. But he was a teaching coach, which I value now, especially as a high school coach, being able to not just say run and jump versus breaking it down for every kind of learner. But that's my experience. That's just my experience.
Gotcha. Good job. Good job. Mine has number one, it starts with my father, my parents, my mother and my father. But in the professional coaching, it starts with my father. My father told me, and I'm paraphrasing what he said, but there's a difference between turning pro and becoming a professional. And so he taught me how to be a student of the game. He taught me how to carry myself. He taught me a lot. He's my standard, right? So then Daryl Anderson, back at my alma mater at Kentucky, after spending some time at Arizona State and TCU, Coach DA's tough love. That's just what it is. I can't tell you how many times he's called me, said one sentence, and hung up. That's my guy, right? And then he gave me access to Mouse by hanging up the phone on me, right? Literally, he just told me, you ain't coaching your teammates, you ain't coaching yourself. Don't call me until you learn from somebody else. Click. And 10 minutes later, I get an email with Coach Holloway's number. Start with this one, right? So he taught me how to speak up for myself and ask for help, right? Obviously, Mouse. Um, Mouse has talked me off the ledge so many times in my career. It's ridiculous. John Kennison got me really my first job, and RN Ball, my first head coach that I worked for in a paid position at Titusville High School. Those have been probably my strongest influences. Obviously, the Bev Kearneys, the Clyde Harts, all of those people. EB and Dana, I've been on the phone with you trying to learn how to and ask questions of I spent a lot of my early career just coaching young men, and I felt that the need that if I was going to start coaching ladies, that I needed to go from a lady's perspective, and you guys have helped me out. Shoot, I can't, and in that realm, I can't forget Jeanette Bolden. um, Before I got to UCLA at Washington, pulling me to the side and just giving me words of affirmation and encouragement and words of advice. If you guys out there, if you don't know Jeanette Bolden, she's about as real as it gets, right? So I love me some Coach Bolden, and spent a lot of time with her and her family during my time at UCLA. But Tisha, I heard you say something about your experience being the only female on staff sometimes, and it kind of gets me thinking. Sometimes, and what I've heard in this profession, that sometimes women, especially Black women, check off two boxes, right? The African American box and the woman box. So I guess my question to each of you, to kind of shift gears a little bit, is, ladies, how do you avoid basically being treated as a quota? How do you get yourself taken seriously? Especially when you're starting off your career, right? So, I think those things are important, because there are situations that do come up that way. But I think, you ladies have knocked a lot of those, if not all of those barriers down. And so for a young coach like Tisha, how does she knock those barriers down, basically?
Actually, I'll start. I think a good place to start is figure out how to be valuable on that staff. Figure out what you can do to make yourself, valuable, literally. I think that's really what, I mean, male, female head coach. Head coaches, I think, want assistants, and I know you're not an assistant, but they want people around them who want to win. And that can take some things off their plate, but do it well, right? I've been an assistant my whole career, and so I think what I would advise any young coach getting into the business of, even if you are the only female on staff, is figure out how to find what you're good at and do it really, really well. And what you're not good at, learn, how to be better in those areas. And I think that in my opinion, is a great place to start.
Gotcha. So I want to jump in here because I know Coach Gilbert has another commitment. Want to get your perspective on it, and then feel free to log off, Coach, and just
Right.
real quick. Thanks for your time. I
No
appreciate it.
worries.
So
I'm honored to be on with these phenomenal women. I just say one word: productivity, work, win. Get somebody, coach them, win, make them better. You got to come in. You have to listen to what your head coach wants you to do. Your job is to make the head coach look good. You can't have an ego. You got to live where you got to live to get where you want to go, but you have to work. You have to get somebody and produce. If they run 13 flat, they need to run 12.99. You better make them better. So that's all you can do to me. I told some kids today, some of my athletes, not kids, student athletes, you can work your way out of 95% of your problems. And they were like, oh, coach, yeah, you just got to work. I think the climate, Dana knows when we came up, we coached sprints, jumps, and hurdles, and we had part of the director of operations job, and we had at Penn State, I had to teach jogging and strength training. So when I see these people, they got one job and they can't do it, I'm not the one to talk to. Because I did everything for $17,000 and I didn't argue. But I wanted to be great and I wanted to win. And whoever I had, they got better. So I think that's the real answer in my opinion.
thank you, Coach. Appreciate you.
Yeah, I'll piggyback off of what Carol said. You're 100% right. I mean, it kills me when people say they're just a certain coach. I've coached everything from the 800 down and all the field events. It's like whatever my boss told me. I had to learn how to coach the pole vault in Texas. So whatever whatever your boss tells you to do is what you do, and then you have to find a way to be successful. Um, and that's the bottom line. You know, you have to produce. And one thing that I would say, I think sometimes, and when I talk to some young people and they call me and I hear a lot of well, I want to do this and I, and I tell them, lose the I, man. It's not your program. Sometimes you have to be a servant in order to be a leader first. Okay. So you must serve first. You don't get to go to the top. Now, I know a lot of people get opportunities and they get to coach right off the bat, but some of us older people that have been and are in places that we had to pay our dues and work under people, and I mean, there's times when we didn't have our own groups and we had to run everything by somebody before you did it. It had to be approved. You just didn't get the autonomy. And I think there's something to that, because I think you learn how to be a servant. I think you learn how to be a great assistant, and you start looking at things from a different perspective, and you understand what your role is if I am productive and I do a good job, then it helps everybody, and the boss is going to be in a good position. They're going to be happy, and we're going to be happy because we'll all be taken care of. And so I
And
think if, yeah,
our job is to make sure these kids reach their dreams,
yes,
not to worry about
100%.
how much. I never worried about how much money I was going to make.
Nope.
I
Nope.
wanted the
Because we
kids to reach their dreams.
Yep. Because we worked for nothing. Like Carol said, 70. I worked for $12,000, no benefits. That's, y'all don't remember when they used to have restricted earnings coaches and they told you there was a limit to how much. I remember being part-time, getting $500 a month and working two other jobs to survive, because that's what you enjoy doing, is coaching. Um, but the bottom line is, you have to be able to see the bigger picture and understand, like Carol said, you have to be able to settle your ego down and understand that you may not get all the credit, you may not be the one out front. It doesn't really matter. You know what you're doing. You just work behind the scenes and get the job done, and understand where your role is, and your time will come, and in due time you'll be elevated. um yeah.
So how do you deal with an assistant who does not have the attitude of servitude?
They don't get to stay. I'm just kidding.
I had to unmute that one.
Hold on.
I'm
That's what that
I'm
is.
going
That's what
back to
that
you.
is.
I guess I'm wondering.
She's
Oh,
not
well,
lying.
obviously, but the process. I know documentation is important for everything like that, but I know the type of assistant I was. I Everything you were saying, I tried to make sure I had a good attitude because I never, I never wanted to be the reason why somebody is not successful. Because a reflection on that person is a reflection on me. I have to say I'm part of that program too. So, but how do you go about that? Talking with that person about that, a staff member or staff in general, getting them on board with your program goals.
I think before you hire them, you have to ask them, do they understand what the vision is? And is this something that you are in agreement with? Because it's very hard to be successful if you have someone on staff who does not have the same vision and the same direction as the head coach. And I've worked in plenty of programs where I may not have agreed with whatever, what the head coach might have wanted, but I did whatever they asked me to do. You know, we may have some fundamental philosophical differences, but at the end of the day, it's their program. So whatever they asked of me, that's what I did. Um, and that's what you do. You cross your eyes, I mean, cross your t's and dot your i's, and you leave the place better than you found it. So when you get your next elevation, they shouldn't have anything bad to say about you because you did a good job.
I think to answer your question as well, I think you document. I think you document, having trying to have those conversations, making sure that they understand it is your program, it is your vision. They have to be on board. You document those conversations you had. So at the end of the year, I mean, we everyone gets evaluated, right? You get evaluated, assistants get evaluated. I think that's just an honest conversation that you have maybe some 3 month, 6 month check-ins to see how is it better than when you first brought the concern or the situation to that person, and you just document those conversations. So at the end of the year, you do have a paper trail. And what does that look like? What does that mean for that person? Well, I think as the head coach, you get to, make that decision yourself. But at least if you have some documentation of the conversations, you've checked in, we've went over this again, then I think it just makes whatever decision is made at the end of the year. I think you would be supported with that documentation, hopefully.
I think, yeah, what EB is saying, you have to give the person a chance to correct whatever it is that you're asking them to do. And so, it's a process of, hey, this is what my expectation is, hey, here it is. I can remember my first head coaching job. I think one of my assistants said something, they weren't really clear about what their roles were, so that told me as a head coach I need to go back and type everything up and make sure everyone knows exactly what is expected of them. So here's what you are responsible for. Here's what this means to me, all of this, and then have a meeting with everybody to make sure they understand what I expect of them and what their role is. And then there's no confusion. And then if anything is, not in a line, like EB said, you could have meetings, and if there's something you're not, happy with or going in the right direction, then you can address those concerns.
Yeah. And it also speaks to on the front end sometimes knowing the difference. Like I used to say this kind of coming up when I was coming up in the game was, I gotta understand the difference between a job and the right job. And as a coach now, as a head coach, I gotta understand the difference between a coach and the right coach, right? This person can probably coach their tails off. Like, I was told this, coming up. The easiest thing you do on a daily basis is go out to the track and coach. Are you the right fit? Are you going to come into the office and get tasks done? Are you going to represent the program well? It's all of those things because I see people sometimes that get fired and they're great coaches. They just might not be the right fit for that particular coach. Doesn't mean they can't coach. It just means they might not be the right fit for that program. I put myself in that. I think I was a good coach going into UCLA from the University of Washington, but as much as I tried, I wasn't the right fit for UCLA. I just wasn't. I tried. I just wasn't the right fit, and it didn't work. So sometimes I think we get caught up on names and numbers and this, that, and the other as a head coach, but it taught me to look a little bit deeper. What's the connection that coach has with the student athletes? What's their connections in recruiting? What other tasks can they do? Can you help out with travel? Can you help out with equipment? Can you help out with compliance? Can you help out with the training room? There are so many things under our umbrella, not just at the college level, but at the high school level, at the professional level. There's so many things that happen before you even get to the track that everybody in the program needs to be on the same page on, right? I remember Mouse telling me, when you sit at the chair and sit at the head of the table and you have your first staff meeting, the last thing you can be is outnumbered, right? Because remember, you sit at the head of the table. You gave access to the seats at the table. So as a head coach, you got to protect that room. You got to protect those seats at the table because your job depends on what comes out of that room. So speaking of that, those are some challenges that we all face in this sport. But I want to get you ladies perspective. What challenges have you faced, or not even that? What has changed in the profession since you started? Um, you know, don't age yourself now. Don't date yourself now. But I'm 28 years in the game, right? So things have changed. Social media, all those things. When I started, there wasn't MySpace or Instagram. Let's see, I'm dating myself. Um, Facebook, those things. When I first started, there wasn't an iPhone. So what has changed and how has it affected the profession as you've matriculated through the sport?
You can't ask that question and say not date yourself, because some
Yeah,
of the
yeah,
things that I'm going to say
yeah,
is going
yeah,
to make me very antiquated, because I tell kids all the time, social media, you guys get instant results all the time. You guys are used to just instant. I said, we used to have to wait at the end of the meet for a printed copy of the results, because that's what they used to
yeah,
do.
yeah,
And you'd be
yeah,
passing them around on the bus
yeah,
saying, hey, coach, can I see the results? You didn't
yeah,
know what someone else ran in the time in the country until it was posted in the track and field news or something like that. You just didn't
yeah.
have the instant access to results. And in some ways, I think it's better just because takes down some of the comparison. But um, a lot's changed. That's a loaded question. a, a lot, and people used to run for the love of it. Now it's
Yeah,
about the money. It's
yeah,
the money now.
yeah. I think the transfer portal has freaked people out.
Yeah.
The NIL has freaked people out. The
Yeah.
roster limitations has freaked people out. But this is just another evolution, and we've got to learn how to deal with it because like Mouse said in the last podcast, if your AD ain't told you track going anywhere, you got to just make track better at your school. So that's kind of what I want to get to. Go ahead, EB.
No, I was gonna just piggyback what Dana was saying about the
Mm,
social media piece. I think the kids that we're coaching, compared to when we were coming up, is very different.
mm,
Not only has the sport changed, but also the young people that we are coaching has changed. The social media, the
mm,
NIL, making money from your social media, stuff that you know, as a older coach, it's just part of who they are.
mm,
Most of them, the
mm,
majority of them. I don't think there's very many kiddos that's not on social media, doesn't have Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, that's constantly on their phone connected to it. But I think I think it, in my opinion, affects the other, the social media, the transfer portal, the NIL. I think they're intertwined. The NCAA and the rules and lack thereof, and or rules, but not rules on certain things that's changed the sport.
mm,
Um, I think they're all intertwined. I don't think one has anything to, I think one has everything to do with all of them, and we're in this space,
mm,
right? So I think as coaches, um, we can't sit back and say, well, this is not what we had. It's true, but that's what we have now. And this is what we have to understand with the young people that we're dealing with, is that they are, like you said, the instant gratification, uh, Dana, instant information, constantly going to their phones. It is a different world that we're in, a different
Mhm.
space. I know you didn't necessarily bring up the mental health part of it, but I feel like it's all intertwined. I mean, all of this is has everything to do with the mind space, the mindset, the health of these young people is all intertwined with the whole social media. um that's what it's all about, good or bad, if we
Mhm.
like it or not. These are what our young people that we coach on a day-to-day basis have to deal with.
Yeah. Let me touch on that point you just said. So this is what a coach challenged me on. A coach I respect, and I've shared this with my staff. If we're going to stay in this business, okay, if Coach Robinson is going to coach high school, if we're going to continue to keep coaching college, no matter how old we get, we're still going to be working with the same age group population,
Mm-hmm.
right? So there's grace in that, right? Because somebody gave us grace to move forward and mature and continue to grow, as a human being, as an adult, all of that. We're literally in the job of ushering kids between adolescence to adulthood. So whether the social media thing is there or it's not, whether the technology boom that happened when we were in school and all of those things happened, the rules change, we're still doing that. And he challenged me and he said the frustration comes from the fact that as you age, your tolerance for immaturity starts to shrink. So we've got to find a way to meet them where they are,
I'm
right?
laughing because that's the truth.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it like
I'm laughing too.
yeah, I was literally challenged on that,
Hey,
and it just blew my
Man.
mind. Like
hey,
you're right.
hey. I'm processing that the news source is TikTok. That's where we
Yeah,
get all of our information from. I've,
yeah.
I've had to do some TikToks over the years,
You
and
did. Yours are
I
good though. Your ladies,
just
they were doing real well with that. I like that.
yeah, they just tell me what to do. And they say, Coach, just do this. I say, okay.
Yeah,
But you have to adapt. I mean,
You do.
like you said, if you want to keep your job, you adapt. You understand things have changed, but you change with it, but you can still hold your standard, and you just have to relate to the kids differently. I'm such
exactly.
a different coach now than I was years ago, because it has to be more personal relation. I gotta get in there to get
Hmm.
what you used to be able to just say, "Hey, get out there and get it done."
Yeah,
Now, have a seat on the couch. Let's talk about this. What are
Absolutely.
you feeling today?
yeah.
And I gotta be,
Yes.
a little bit of everything just to try to get the same performances I was getting. So it's a lot more work
Hmm.
now, but
Hmm.
you adapt, and you keep it going for the love of it. I mean,
Yeah,
I still love the progress. So
there you go.
I take it as a challenge to figure out, how do I pull this out of this person.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
No, that I mean that's the challenge we all face. I mean, even for me, it's just I don't want to be on social media. If I had a preference, I wouldn't be on social media. Why am I on social media? That's where the kids are.
Yeah.
I got to meet them where they are. And sometimes it allows me to make decisions. It's I'm making tens of $1,000 decisions every day. When we talk about scholarships. So sometimes I just got to meet them where they are, and it's a challenge. And I Tisha, you're seeing them as they begin to become aware of where they think they are or whatever. So I'm sure there's some challenges for you there too.
So, yes, I feel like when I first started, or maybe just transitioning from athlete to coach, like, and I put notes, I feel like number one, mental toughness, I feel like has definitely changed. And y'all may have seen it. I know the type of athlete I was. And so, what I see, and even when I was in college, I was like, yeah, no, if the coach said do it, let's just do it. I don't care how he said it, let's just do it. Or let's just work for it. Or, hearing things like, well, if I go if I go too hard and then I fail, that's worse than if, I'm sorry, I'm not saying it right, but long story short, some people afraid to go all out in terms of failing versus halfway doing it and
But
seeing
are
that.
but are they afraid of failure or are they afraid of success?
And see, that's something that I feel like I would have to ask that person. I feel like I had one teammate like that, and that really exposed me to like people think like that. And then once I got into coaching, I see, and talk with my athletes about things like that, and it's kind of mind blowing because we have more athletes that might give up, or maybe at home they might be a little bit more coddled. I'm not sure. I don't quite coach that way. I have to have more understanding. I have to do like good Coach Boone says, sit down, let's talk about it. Let's see how you're going. And that's not quite my personality, but I do care about my kids. But definitely on the high school level, even though it is not like the same as the collegiate level, we have athletes transferring. And it's very much like, instead, sometimes depending on what the regulations are, they do have to sit out a year. But sometimes they do get pushed through for whatever the majestic reasoning was. If an athlete doesn't like their coach, if they don't get the playing time, or they don't get to compete in the meet in what they want, sometimes they just leave. And at the high school level, I feel like I didn't see that as much, when I first started, but now I'm seeing it a lot more, especially with NIL. We do not have NIL in Texas, but other states do for high school students. So, especially my athletes that are now college signees, hearing what they're going to make and things like that, it bothers me a little bit, especially if I don't know if they've had a good background or understanding of, okay, how are you going to work through if you have a problem with your coach?
Man, it makes me want to do some A skips and lose this weight. That's what it made me want to do. Man, Lord. Hey, shoot, for that money, man, I might got me one go good 800 now. I might
You
have one.
got another year of eligibility, Coach?
Man, hey, look, if you get me the right
I think your
NIL deal,
clock's run out.
I think about it.
I
I
think your
think
clock
about it.
has. I think your clock has passed.
Man,
Just,
I think
God bless
just a
some of the
little
stuff
bit.
I'm
Just a little bit.
hearing. Lord have mercy. I wish Coach Gilbert was back on here, but
Coach,
I'm gonna stay out of her business though, because she understood the assignment. But yeah, no, I feel you. It's always going to be this ongoing thing. Like if you look at the history of college athletics, like you go into the 70s, right? Like integration hadn't fully taken hold in the 70s, so that affected HBCUs in a different way, right? And then the 80s came on, and then with the SMU football thing and Kentucky basketball, the compliance era started. Then the 90s, the television boom, and the early 2000s, the technology boom and the social media boom, and now it's the COVID is part of that, right? We're 5 years removed from COVID, like literally in a couple of weeks, right? We were shut down 5 years ago in a couple of weeks, right? So that's a part of that. And then you come out of that, and then the transfer portal hits and NIL. And I mean, I remember the Ed O'Bannon case with the EA Sports football and basketball games, and how we didn't see what was coming until it hit, right? So, I think that's the great thing about our profession and our sport, is the one thing I know that we know how to do is adapt, right? We all know how to adapt. If we don't have an indoor facility, we're gonna figure it out. If we don't have the budget to go X, Y, and Z, we're gonna figure it out, right? If we don't have sleds or blocks or whatever, we're gonna figure it out, right? Because our sport doesn't necessarily always have a seat at the table when these decisions are made, right? From the high school level, the college level, the club level, these decisions are made arbitrarily in another room by people who may not be as vested as we thought they were. I remember when I was at Washington, the whole conversation was, should the women raise the 100 hurdle heights? And I remember getting interviewed about that. And I said, well, have you asked the ladies what they want to do? I don't need to be some man in there deciding what I don't experience what they experience. So if they collectively want to do it, let them do it. Right. So, I mean, we've had to learn how to adapt on this, on a consistent basis. I mean, and even in a career, just looking at how your career has evolved and the challenges that you faced in that moment. It's adaptability. Your family lives, your personal lives, it's adaptability. How do you, manage being a parent? And my wife and I are empty nesters now. And Tisha, you kind of mentored my daughter through cheer, right? So I mean, you remember when she first got here as a freshman in high school, and now she's grown woman in New York City right now. So those I tried. I had to figure out how to be not only a father, but how to be a husband. In this sport, and support my family in a sport that is extremely demanding. So the adaptability, I think, is probably one of the greatest attributes we have in our sport. And I'm not saying other sports coaches don't have that. It's just I think ours is kind of unique, because of the culture around us, right? And how it shapes us, and how, again, we don't always have a seat at the table when these decisions are made. So yeah, that's huge. I guess, we're kind of getting towards the end. I don't have too many more questions left, but I want to kind of start looking towards the future, and just ask each of you, what is the future of this profession? Not necessarily the sport. What do you see coming, with these changes, and I mean, the sport's always going to get faster. Jesus, the women's 100 hurdles, just please, y'all, just let it rest for a couple of years. Jesus Christ, man, y'all, woof, what ladies in the 100 hurdles is ridiculous. But I'm really talking about the profession of coaching. What, as experienced coaches, for a coach like Coach Robinson, who's just now entering the double digit in years and experience, what can we foresee coming for her?
I think one of the questions to ask yourself is, what level do you want to coach at? Is it high school? Is it college? Are you happy at the college level? Do you want to go to the college level? I think that might be a good place to start, because I think the assumption is that everyone wants to coach at the college level, but or everyone wants to be a head coach, right? I think there's a lot of assumptions that people make and sometimes put on people, but in my opinion, I think you just got to, figure out for or ask yourself, what do you want and what level do you want to be at? And when you make that decision, just try to be the very best you can. Show up every day, being your authentic self, doing things the right way. I think that's how you stay in the business a long time. Be professional. Um, carry yourself in a way that, even if they don't like you, they ain't got nothing bad to say, because you ain't giving them nothing. I think as a black young woman, that's very, very important, is to, people can say they don't like you, but they don't have anything to back that up with. They just don't like you. And that's fine. Everyone's not gonna always like you. And I think you just have to be okay with that. But I think showing up, being your authentic self, doing a good job at what you do, being professional, carrying yourself professionally, and helping these kids run fast. I think that's how you, in my opinion, you get to almost dictate what level do you want to be at. Is it the high school level? If it is, again, be the best you can be, and I think you have have a long, you'll have a long career at that level.
Yeah, I mean, I think as the landscape changes, there's so many things to consider, but once again, um, we'll adapt. Rather it's the high school level. I mean, things have changed with roster limits and recruiting, and I had a conversation with the coach today saying, hey, I've signed 10 fresh, 10 high school kids. I'm waiting on the portal now. It's like I've only got room for a limited amount of high school kids just to try to keep up with, what's going on in the NCAA, because I do have to be productive if I want to stay in my position as well. So um and then at the high school level, yeah, that's tricky when you're trying to get your kids recruited. And I get emails so many times, and a lot of kids are not understanding the process. And like, hey, at some point in time, we can only have this many people on our roster. And so I don't have room to just, there's no more walk-ons for me, there's not really, so the landscape has changed, but we will all figure out a way to adapt and be successful. Um, that's just like Coach Vaughn said, that's just what we do. We always adapt and find a way um, to make anything work, from any difficult circumstance. But um, I think at the end of the day, what Carol had said, and I think EB, you just touched on it, we just have to be productive, and we can't be complaining about everything and not getting anything done. So I always tell my staff, go to work. Don't complain. I don't care what they tell us. We're not gonna complain. We're gonna take what we got and make the most of it and make it hot. That's what we do. We stay under the radar and do big things. And that's how I operate. I'm not gonna sit here and complain about what I don't have and what somebody else has, because there's no way I can keep up. I mean, Carol knows she got a lot of stuff. We joke about it all the time. I'm like, good Lord, I'd sign there too. But hey, I gotta deal with what I got. So
Amen.
and there's some kids that'll think what we have is a great thing too. So
Yeah.
there's room for everybody to be successful. Just gotta get in where you fit in. And but like EB said, you gotta figure out where you want to go and what you want to be. Because sometimes you think the grass is greener on the other side, but it's just artificial turf. So
That
make sure
part.
you know, make sure you know what you really want to
That
do.
part.
DB had bars. She out here spitting hot fire like Dylon out here, man. What's she got bars out here? Go ahead, Tisha.
Well, I guess to what you were saying, Miss Coach Brewer, for me, I love my job. Like, I feel like I have the greatest job in the world, and I don't feel bad about it. I almost feel like, is this wrong to feel like this is good? I mean, I know for myself, coaching at the collegiate level is not like on my like to-do list. I think that it'd be a good opportunity to go do it to make sure maybe it's just an experience that's cool. I feel like I'm in a space to where I had a list of things I wanted to accomplish in my life. And I am a worker. I just am. I made sure that I did everything that I said I wanted to do in my life so far. As far as I wanted to be a wife one day. I got married in college. I wanted to own a home. I bought my first house 6 months out of college. I wanted to be a coach, eventually. And now I'm a head coach, and I'm checking it off, and I'm absolutely trying to be the best that I can be. I try not to boast about it, but I absolutely want to hit people in the face with how great my athletes are every single meet. And so I will work until that just happens. And so whatever God has in store for me for my future, cool. I'm just along for the ride. He's gonna do what he wants to do at the end of the day, and I'm just gonna be all right, God. Let's do it.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And as a coach, when Coach Robinson was in college, I can attest to the type of work that she puts into, and just the type of person she was. A leader for our team. She has a very positive spirit, and has always been encouraging. So I know you're putting out blessings to not only those student athletes, but the community that you're in. And I've seen you push hard. I don't think you've overachieved. I think you just simply achieved. Right. So, and I love that for you. And this is, one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on, because I wanted you to meet these type of coaches who have done the things that you're doing, who are the type of people that can inspire you and encourage you to continue to keep growing and keep going. Because you're not done. None of us are done, but you are really far from done. Right. So you've got a lot more to give. So sometimes, these spaces are here to, empower you to continue to keep growing and keep learning, and take these lessons that these ladies are teaching you. And maybe you can find mentorship with these ladies here. Maybe if not with these ladies, maybe they can connect you to somebody who can, or just be a community to surround you. So these things are very important. So one of the things that I really want to do with this podcast is show value to people in this sport. And if you're watching this live, or you're watching it, on YouTube, and later on, I want you to see the value of the people in our sport. And I'm just going to start with people who have given value to me. So before we begin to close out, I just want to personally thank each and every one of you. DB and EB, man, thanks. I mean, y'all don't know sometimes, but y'all talked me off the ledge. Maybe like a 5-second conversation or just saying hello. Y'all have really talked me off the ledge. I consider you guys part of my circle, even though we don't communicate all the time. But you guys have been real encouraging. Like EB, like when I met you, like literally, you know who I'm alluding to, but you taught me off a ledge on that. I didn't know where I was in my career with that. I appreciate that. So you have value to me and have helped me, and that ripple of your help has helped other student athletes that I've had. DB, I've learned just by talking to you and watching you. You've taught me a lot about just how to be a leader, in a setting I may not have been comfortable in. I mean, when I started coaching ladies, it was later I think I was probably really 10 plus years into my career before I started coaching ladies in a group setting. So I ear hustled you. I spoke, I asked questions, text, whatever. And the feedback that I've gotten from you has been outstanding, and it's helped a lot of young people in my career. So, ladies, keep doing what you're doing. Tisha, hey, look, those tech years, they were tough. They were tough. And I appreciate the example, that you gave to my daughter. That matters to me. We are a summation of our environment, and you're part of that environment. Your positive words helped me through some tough times, even in the office, from a student athlete to a coach perspective. You kept me moving sometimes, and I think sometimes as a coach we forget how our student athletes can inspire us.
Hmm.
So I'm always be here to help you. I'm gonna pick up the phone. I'm gonna answer a text when you reach out, and I also want to elevate you by putting you around these type of ladies, these type of professionals, these type of champions, these type of leaders. So the ripple of this is going to go deep into our communities. So with that said, as we begin to close out, where are we going to find you guys next? What's next for your programs, for your athletes? What's up?
Well, I can speak for my program. Well, this week we are traveling to Cedar Hill High School. We do have Meet 2 coming up. This I am new to this program. They were under the very esteemed Christy Gaines before I got here. So she definitely left a legacy of greatness. And I want to uphold that, and I want to advance the school and really uplift my kids. But we're in a growing season. We're building. And so we're going to go through some tough meets in the coming season, but it's all for a reason.
I guess what's next? Obviously, we're still in season, of course, indoor season, as every college program is right now. Our next meet coming up will be Tiger Paw next week at Clemson. Hopefully, I'll see my girl DB and get to hug on her. And then a week and a half after that, we have ACCs in Louisville, Kentucky, which actually I'm very happy to go because I get to see my baby, my big baby.
That's right.
My daughter is in graduate school down there, so it'll be twofold. I'm going down there to try to handle business in the ACC, but also hug on my big baby.
Hey, when you get there, go talk to Ronnie Williams, my teammate at Kentucky, and
Yes,
tell him it's great to be in Louisville, Kentucky. Put the S on it. Put the S
I
on it
will.
for me.
I will do that, and I'll say that came from you.
Yeah, please.
And we were at Louisville our first meet, and I got to see old school out there. So
Oh,
Look, did he have on hey? Did he have on an Adidas suit
hey, hey, he
with the
was so
Kango hat?
hey, he had some funky, he had some fresh gear on. I don't even know. I was
Man,
like, dang,
I don't
okay.
know where he be finding these Adidas
I don't know
outfits, but
either, but he
boy,
he, he fly all the
oh my
time.
clean,
gosh,
clean,
But
fly.
clean.
but
All caps.
well, our distance group is competing this weekend in Gainesville. The sprints and jumps or hurdles are off this weekend, and we will resume at the Tyson Invitational this year. EB, I know, so
Ah,
I will miss you. I had to switch it up and go old school back to my Oklahoma days. I used to live at the Tyson Invitational. We just got to
Yes,
do something different,
absolutely.
because we usually go to the Tiger Paw as well. But we'll probably
Yeah.
be back. But we'll just switched it up a little bit. So looking forward to that. That'll be our last competition before the Big 12 championships at the end of February. So
Gotcha. Gotcha. Well,
yeah.
our Grambling State Tigers head out tomorrow morning. We are heading to Birmingham, Alabama for the Vulcan invite and the UAB Blazer invite. Um, we got snowed out of our first meet. I just made the decision we're going to continue to train through. We ended up going to our second meet, and so this is a weekend where you get two separate meets in one weekend. And so these are going to be, real tune-up meets. This is statement weekend. We got to say something, and we got to stand up. So, I'm looking forward to the competition and seeing all the coaches there. And I wish you guys safe travels. God bless you. Please, yeah, if you're flying, yeah, please. Oof, I'm praying for traveling blessings for all of y'all. If you're on the bus, if you're in a van, I'm praying for traveling blessings for you, not only in departure, but in return. Um, so with that said, before we close out, want to give each of you an opportunity to send your shout outs, your thank yous, you give your flowers out, whatever it is you want to do to the people that matter to you the most.
Um, I want to say thank you to my son, because he makes a big sacrifice, because he loses his mommy for half of the year as I travel, and he has to share me with the girls for the year. So I'm grateful for him, but I'm thankful for my staff for their dedication to the vision of the program, and their continued work, and all the people that have influenced me over the years. There's so many to name, and my circle of friends that I call every day and bug and talk to. Thank you for the listening ear and the advice over the years. So,
I'll definitely go next. I mean, I'll definitely piggyback that. I think one thing that we sometimes forget is how much our families sacrifice for us to do what we love to do. And obviously, I have an older one, as you guys know, Asia. She's in grad school, but then I do also have a little one at home, and he's upstairs doing I don't know what, but he is quiet and he has not come down. I know, right? He has not come down to interrupt this conversation. So now I don't know what his room gonna look like when I go upstairs, but I am very, very grateful for my family. Great support. I think I can't do what I do without the support of my village, and so I definitely want to shout out my family. They're very supportive. I want to shout out my kids who, as Dana said, you it's hard sharing, and I think it's hard sharing half the year, your parent with, we end up raising and guiding and encouraging other people's kids. So definitely I'm grateful for that. And then I think just over the years, I feel like I'm almost repeating exactly what Dana said. I think over the years of just people pouring into me, I've had a really amazing ride over these 24 years. People have, Coach Robinson, I can't imagine reaching out to someone and them not um, entertaining or at least calling me back. I really have had some really, and I guess maybe I just have picked the right people. I think that's what it boils down to. Sometimes you just gotta pick the right people on the right day. And I think I've just been really, really blessed to have anyone that I've ever called. If they don't pick up the phone, they call me right back. And so I do appreciate all those who I've ever called to chat with, to talk about anything, just picking up the phone and taking that call. And obviously, DB is one of those wonderful people that have done that. But I've had some amazing people to do that over my career, and, just grateful for this opportunity. This has been a great conversation. So, Coach Vaughn, thank you for including me. And so obviously, Coach Robinson, also is a pleasure meeting you as well. I know I gave you my number, so hopefully this is a relationship that continues to build. DB, you my girl, and so I definitely wish you the very best. I know, right? So good to see you. And yeah, all the listening folks, I don't know who you are because I can't see you, but thanks for tuning in, and hopefully you picked up something that can definitely help you in your path in this wonderful sport of track and field.
Okay. Thank you both for sending me your number so I can, reach out when I may have questions or need a little advice. First and foremost, Coach Vaughn, you're a real one. I appreciate you for putting me on, and definitely always being one of the people who are not stingy with knowledge. For whatever reason, there are a lot of coaches that will not share the information, which I understand Coach Holloway said it last week. You can give someone the playbook, but they won't ever have your sauce. So I do appreciate that. Major shout out to my family as well. I'm a mom. My little one's sleep next to me right now, and she's 6. So she's just living her best life through both her parents and my husband, who is so supportive. He's a football coach, so we reverse roles in that sense. My parents were obviously putting up with everything we track related, everything I've ever asked for in those sense. My coach, Lise Pat Zoe's, that's that guy. He's an old man, but without him, he showed me what it was like to work hard as a coach. He might not have known much, but what he did, what he didn't know, he bought a video for. The old VHS. He would say, "Tisha, go learn how to triple jump. Here's the video," and I would practice in the classroom in high school. He was just that guy. He would drive me to my meets. He drove me to a recruiting visit one time. So, but my biggest person will be Jacob Cohen. His personality is not for everyone, but he made me understand through all of that. If you want it, it doesn't matter how the delivery is. You have to go get it.
Amen.
It might be spicy, but take it. And I learned just watching him and watching how he coached and how my teammates would react to things. I'm like, he's trying to make us better as just human beings, because sometimes at work in the professional world, we're going to be told some things with a very interesting delivery, but you have to take the message out of it. But first and foremost, he just cared. It felt like a revolving door for me as a multi, not having stability. And he just flat out cared and would pour into me. Coach Calvin Robinson did the same, but Jake really took the time and made me want to continue to understand the sport. And shoot, it made me feel like I wanted to be a dog until I knew I was a dog at heart. So those are my people.
Good people, good people. I'm gonna give my shout outs to my adoring, loving, beautiful dean, queen, mother, wife of mine.
Yes.
That is my queen. That's my y'all see my birthday or Valentine's. We got our wedding anniversary coming up, and y'all will see. My statement is my only one from day one. That's my one. Right? God sent me the one. I chose wisely. So definitely a shout out to her, and to watch her grow and professionally and personally, and to be along with that journey and to share this journey with her. We're empty nesters now, so we vacation, all of that. I enjoy every second of the journey. And as our wedding anniversary is coming up, I got to step my game up. So I'm about to be ready for you, baby. So I love you. Thanks to my family, all of my family, my parents, my sister, my cousins, my aunts, my uncles, grandmother, all of them. Right. Thank you for your support. I've bounced around this country all, these last 28 years, and y'all have stuck with me every sense of the way. My peers, I got 2 of them right here. Y'all have got me through, and I appreciate it. And you guys are inspirations for me as I continue to move forward. My teammates, my friends, all of the above, my community. That's basically what this is. So, I appreciate all of you. I appreciate you ladies for your time, for your wisdom, for your contribution, and with that, America, y'all have a good one, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Hold on. Do
Yeah.
do you want to get a picture of us? I mean, how some people be taking pictures of? Let's get
How do
one
we?
where it's actually
So
smiling.
yeah,
Because I hate the ones with you
can't.
looking
I don't even
crazy.
know how to screen grab that right now. You
Oh
you you
Lord.
actually you asking me to, like, I might just do it on
Coach
YouTube.
Robinson, you young.
Yeah, like I'm still trying to
Got one.
like. Yeah,
I
you got
do.
one.
Look,
Okay,
yeah, you gotta
3, 2,
adapt to
1
the.
us. 3, 2, 1
Oh
us.
well, shoot, I already did it. Hold on,
You already did
let
it.
me. Okay, y'all ready?
Yeah, we ready now.
1, 2, 3. Let me see.
Did it work?
Yeah,
See
yeah.
this
Okay.
smiling?
Look, I
See this?
see all of. Look, I'm gonna send it to you, Coach, and then
Okay,
you
because
can.
y'all, I mean, yeah,
Here you go.
I'm probably gonna get some side eye from my daughter, who is my social media director. But I'm just
Hey,
going.
listen, we adapting.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
we
exactly,
listen and we
exactly.
We
don't
listen and we
judge.
don't
There we
judge.
go.
We
There we go.
listen and we
That's where I'm
see. I'm
going.
keeping up with the trends. See,
Yeah,
That
yeah.
part.
See. That's why you're on. I pay you the big bucks for that one. I appreciate it.
yeah, we
But
Period.
listen
God
and we
bless each
don't
of you.
judge.
All
Thank
right,
you for your
ladies.
time. And
See you,
with
Coach
that,
Vaughn. Take
y'all be
care.
easy. All right,
All
take
Good
right.
care.
night.
Bye bye. Good
Bye.
night.